Hi, this is Nathan with Town Hall Project. I'm very excited today to be speaking to Congresswoman Haley Stevens of Michigan's 11th District. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to have you in my office. It's a real treat to be sitting down with the Town Hall Project.
Well, the Town Hall Project is dozens and dozens of volunteers around the country who do the great work tracking the public schedules of every member of Congress. So I have the privilege of being here talking to you, but the great work is done by all our volunteers, so thank you so much, volunteers. And some members of Congress, their schedules are harder to track down. Yours is very easy, so our volunteers to track you, have an easy path. So you've held, I think, 20 town halls and other, kind of community forums so far in your year plus in Congress. That's way above the average. Why is it important to you to take time to meet with your constituents face to face?
Well, look, there's nothing better than engaging with the people who you serve, who you represent in an open format, in a format that engages them, empowers them, provides them the ability to listen and also to share. I really try and make my town halls not just a lot of me talking at the audience, but a chance for people to weigh in. We advertise them well in advance as we can. For some people who might not feel comfortable speaking in public but do have questions, and so we'll either allow them to at least identify their name, I'll read their question, and then we'll open up the town hall to everyone. And what's also so exciting is the time right after the town hall kind of maybe wraps up, but I'm also getting that one-on-one experience with people and giving them a chance to open up a little bit more. And if you look at my district, Michigan's 11th district, it's a suburban district in Metro Detroit, and look, we are about an hour plus top to bottom, hour drive, so it's a very concentrated district. If I'm having a town hall in Livonia, Michigan, for instance, my residents in Troy should feel empowered to come, just as my residents up in the northwest part of my district, up in Highland or Waterford. And so having these, several dozen community engagements, town hall formats have really allowed people the opportunity to immediately connect in with me. And then what I try and do is I'll a lot of times, depending on the format, I'll have a notepad up there with me, and I'm taking notes, and I say, hey, this is the springboard into action. This is the springboard into the work that I need to bring back to Washington, D.C. These are your viewpoints. So, just having different town halls on also different subject areas as well kind of helps to fuel the work that we're doing here legislatively.
That's great. You mentioned the notebook, which I think is so awesome. Is there a recent question or idea or story that you got from a constituent recently, or sort of a memorable town hall experience?
Well, one woman in particular last year came to one of our engagements and shared a very personal story. She said, look, this is Domestic Violence Month as well as Cybersecurity Month, but how do we bridge these two together? And so I thought, oh my gosh, she's so spot on about that, right? Because a lot of domestic violence spills over into the online world or around somebody's personal identifiable information. And so what did we do? We brought this back to Washington. We started looking at some of the awareness opportunities, interagency coordination. I just had a town hall on special education, and we purposely set it up so that we said we want to have time for testimonials from educators, from parents, from students. We have an unfunded mandate in this country, and particularly for schools all around this country as it pertains to special ed. We have not in Congress fully funded IDEA, which is a piece of legislation, Disabilities Education Act. It's a piece of legislation that would provide the funding to our schools and to our students with IEPs and different education needs. And I have found in my district such an incredible sweet spot with special education in the way Oakland County and Western Wayne County in particular are oriented towards providing special education. However, we know Washington could do its part as well. So that's why I had the town hall, and it was incredibly moving. And the testimonials, the people who spoke up, the people who stayed afterwards, and also the engagement from my congressional team as well. So we're continuing to just move the needle with our town halls. Sometimes we'll have open town halls as well, just on different subjects. I opened my legislative session with that. You know, you can do State of the District. I know some of our colleagues in the freshman class have done that as well. And these are really just exciting opportunities for us.
Cool. That is great. So you are part of this really big, dynamic freshman class of this Congress. And in fact, you have, if I'm not mistaken, you have a leadership role in the freshman Democratic caucus. So you've got, a range of ideological perspectives and personal styles, all the way from, the Joe Cunninghams of the world to your Michigan colleague, Congressman Tlaib. What has your experience been, in this kind of big dynamic group in their first 2 years in Congress?
Well, the town hall set the premium, right? The engagements that you've been seeing with the freshman class in particular, sort of unprecedented, right? A lot of members who replaced members of Congress who weren't having town halls. That's certainly something that all, my folks in the 11th district know all too well from previous members of Congress. And I just decided I'm going to do this differently. Look, town halls aren't always going to be easy, but they're necessary to the work. And so you've seen, I think, just a real refresh. You've also seen, while we're here in Washington, this new type of engagement, sometimes on social media, but also through C-SPAN. And we've really encouraged people to tune in when we're holding special hours or different types of hearings as well. I have constituents who sometimes find themselves in Washington, D.C. for work or vacation. We say, hey, come on in, we're having a hearing on X, Y, and Z. And they actually really get a lot out of being in the hearing room as well. So how does that translate, right? Having a congressional hearing in Washington, D.C. to something that you can do back in the district, right, which contextualizes the work. Again, on my special education town hall, I sit on the Education and Labor Committee. So you better believe that some of those testimonials, some of those statements, we also bring in subject matter experts. That's another way too. It doesn't always, again, have to be the member of Congress talking at individuals. I believe this role, and you've seen this with our freshman class, the convening ability that we have, the convening of bringing together new alliances, new forms of collaboration, working with federal agencies, state agencies, municipal partners. We also hold that as a premium as well. Reimagining the functionality of government and the energy and the excitement that exists in the House of Representatives. So comprised of this freshman class, we're rocking and rolling. I mean, it's really quite enormous and exciting what's been taking place, and frankly, the work product too that comes out of that. So you can go into different briefings and people have their finger on the pulse, right? This is a profound responsibility that we have as members of Congress, 435 people in the entire body, right? Representing somewhere between 700,000 people, even on up. Some even head closer to a million people. And you have got to represent those people and their interests. That is a sacred trust that people are putting into you. So if you're not engaging with your constituents firsthand, what are you doing?
I don't know, but unfortunately there are 198 members of Congress in both chambers who, which is about 37% of the total, who have not held a single town hall event this term. Your predecessor, you may remember, held a couple town halls at the beginning of 2017. They were a bit emotional, and then he stopped. And we saw that with a lot of members of Congress. And I think you've had in our viewing, you've had town halls. You had a couple, and I think you had one in the fall on gun violence prevention, which is a very emotional topic, and sounded like you got emotional. But you kept doing it, and you kept making it a point to listen to folks. What would you say to your colleagues who don't make it a point to do this, to encourage them of why it actually helps them do their job better?
Well, it's sort of surprising when you share the full number of people who haven't had town halls. There's so many different ways in which you can advertise your town hall, shape your town hall, and get people involved. And look, you're here on behalf of the people, right? I mean, this is particularly in the House of Representatives. This is the people's house. We know that, and it's I've found this job to be so exciting, so energizing, so capable of doing good on behalf of people and communities, particularly the incredible communities I represent. Where I grew up, right? And so, it's a call to action, and we see that in partnership with the Town Hall project as well. I remember signing your pledge and feeling so strong about it, and then getting to Congress, and it was such a rush, right? We were in kind of a unique time. We had this government shutdown. We're all brand new. We got a new majority, and we're thinking, we need to have, it just kind of hit me. I said, I got to have an all hands on deck town hall right now. We're in the middle of this shutdown. There's a lot of uncertainty. I'm new to this job, but I've been going through orientation. I'm working and getting my committee assignments, so I said, let's have this town hall. And the only complaint we got was you didn't give us enough time, because we were looking at the schedule and we thought, well, if we don't do it this weekend, then it kicks down to this weekend, and it was just, we just said, let's just do it. But yet 300 people showed up, and what was hilarious is I never get sick. I hadn't been sick in years, and I had a head cold. But I said, onward with the town hall. And the only thing I think people could notice is I was guzzling water, But beyond that, and I had a state house rep up there with me, and this is, it's important for Congress, it's important for our state house reps. Matt Colazar, he also flipped a seat in Plymouth and Northville in our district, and which is just great. And he was up there with me. He goes, I couldn't even notice you were under the weather, because we were so energized. You got to feed off people. And look, I'm an extrovert. For my colleagues who might not be, maybe a little bit more introverted, come do the town hall. We'll come to my district when I'm having one. We'll show you how it gets done.
Yeah. And we also love when federal lawmakers do events with state lawmakers. So few people engage with their state government.
Yeah. Well, and it's a dotted line, right? Because people will ask a lot of times at town halls, and look, I represent a lot of small and mid-sized mom and pop manufacturing firms, and we'll go and visit those firms, and we'll end up having, town halls at companies, at little, at the businesses, and it's amazing too, because people ask questions, but then they'll ask questions. Sometimes it's a state government question, right? It's something for our state legislator, and it's not like I'm trying to abandon my responsibilities by
levels of government.
Exactly, but so that helps. And Debbie Dingle, another great example. This is someone who's been in Congress a couple of terms. She also sets, I'm sure you have her on your list. Yeah, she sets the gold standard for town halls. She's been very helpful to our freshman class. I've done town halls with her back in Michigan. We're so lucky, and so. That's the other thing, with our colleagues, we can lean on each other, and it's not to say, hey, I said this when I was running, my view is to listen, learn, and lead in that order. That is what I am doing. So the listening begins with the town hall. Learning begins with the town hall. I mean, you get to seeds, and then you go back and start looking at the issues. You start collecting these narratives and these dialogues, and it really can fuel the engine of incredible work product. What is that? Legislation, oversight, bills that we're going to pass into law for people.
That's great. I would love to talk to you about this all day, but I know you have some busy work ahead. So thank you so much, Congressman Stevens, and we'll keep an eye out for the next town hall coming up.
Such an honor to have Town Hall Project in our office today. Thanks again for all you guys do. Thank you.
Take care.